Okay, today's a big one. This is episode 100 of the Do Different Better show. And we're not celebrating with confetti, we're celebrating with a move. If you've ever felt stuck, even with good income, like you can't change jobs, take a break, invest in yourself, or say yes to an opportunity without panicking, this episode is your unlock. You're building your flex fund, the cash system that turns plans into choices. So optionality becomes real and not theoretical. Lock in. What's happening, my money builders in training, my high earners, my not rich yet? We are building real power on a purpose. Welcome back to the Do Different Better show, where we talk wealth wisdom and money moves, simple, strategic, and grown. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, your wealth identity coach and money co-pilot. And today, this is episode 100. I'm so excited. 100 episodes, 100 conversations about money without shame, without fluff, and without the just stop buying nonsense. So if you've been listening from the early days, I so much appreciate you, my subscribers. And if you're new here, so glad to have you. If you found the show last week, welcome. You are right on time. And if you're one of my people who listens and thinks, I really need to not just listen, but do, today is your day. Because the best way to celebrate episode 100 is not just a celebration. It's the kickstart you've been waiting for. It's a big money move. This is an activation episode. We're building a system that turns ideas into actions and actions into choices. Today's episode is called Build a Flex Fund, the cash system that turns plans into choices. Here's the truth. Most people don't fail financial because they don't know what to do. They fail because they don't have a structure that makes good decisions actually possible. A flex fund is a key piece of that structure. And it sits perfectly within our soul arc, right? SOLE. The last 3 months, we've been talking about soul and the S, which stands for stability, which is your predictability, your buffers, and reduced volatility. We built your baseline. We built a buffer. We talked about brick house. We cleaned up some of our money chaos and we reduced the reactive panic. In the next 3 months, I'm going to be focused on the O in soul, which is optionality. This is liquidity, or how much cash we have access to. It's flexibility, and it's the availability to choose. Optionality is the real flex because income is not freedom. Optionality is freedom. And a flex fund is the cash system that actually makes optionality real. So let's define it. What is a flex fund? A flex fund is cash that is set aside specifically for opportunity and transition. It is not emergency only. It is not your retirement. It is not random savings that you keep meaning to grow. A flex fund is purposeful and intentional. It's money that lets you say yes to the right opportunity, no to the wrong opportunities or obligations, and I'm fine during a transition. It's the difference between I want to leave this job, but I can't, and I'm leaving and I've got a plan. I know exactly what I'm going to do, and I know exactly how long it's going to take me to do it. Now, I want to be very clear because people often mix these up. There is the flex fund, right? Here's your stability stack and where flex fund actually fits. So we've talked about baseline. This is your minimal viable month of what it costs to keep life running, right? Then it's the buffer. That's your shock absorber for normal life. Like your tire blows out, you have a big copay, or you have some small surprises. And then there's the brick house. This is your resilient fund. This is being able to withstand a multi-month disruption, like maybe job loss, or just life kicking you in the gut, right? Something happens, life be lifing, all right? Your flex fund is your optionality cash that is for transitions and opportunities. Here's another way to think about it. The buffer keeps you stable. The flex fund makes you mobile. And mobility is the goal of optionality, right? So you think about being able to move, right? Because a lot of high capacity and high earners, especially high earners, have income, but they actually don't have any mobility or breathing room or flexibility in their life. They just have more expenses, right, that are attached to this greater income. You can have a great salary and still be trapped by high fixed costs, stacked obligations, thin buffers, and I can't afford to make that move right now. Having a flex fund changes all of that. Now, you might be thinking, Elaine, I already have a savings account. Okay, then you might already have buffer or brick house, and that's great. That's amazing. But do you have the money that is specifically for transitions and opportunities with some rules? Because if you don't, then every time an opportunity comes up, you're going to do one of these three things. You're going to put it on a credit card, you're going to avoid it, or you're going to drain the wrong account and create more anxiety for yourself. Think about the last time you wanted to take advantage of an opportunity that you couldn't actually act on. Did you do one or more of these things? A flex fund is the account that prevents those three mistakes. Now, who needs a flex fund the most? Great question. Flex funds are especially powerful for people who are high earners that have high fixed cost, right? Because one income disruption can create immediate stress, even when you have a good income. This is also for entrepreneurs and people with variable income households like realtors, right? Or salespeople, because flexibility is actually survival. And for my caretakers or family CFOs, because you need a protected pool of money that is your stability and opportunities, not everyone else's emergencies, right? This is also for anyone planning a move in the next 12 months. Maybe you're looking to pivot your career. Maybe you're looking to relocate. Maybe you're looking to launch a business or get some more education to get a promotion at work. Maybe you're looking to take a sabbatical. I had a friend of mine. She is a PhD therapist, and she wanted to take a year off. She's like, I've been a mental health therapist for 20 years. I wanted to take a year-long sabbatical. That's powerful. To be able to say that you can walk away for a year is amazing. But it could also be for a health reset. Maybe you've had a health disruption that causes you to sit out the game for a long period of time, or even a short period of time. The flex fund allows you to be able to do that. If you're in one of those categories, a flex fund isn't extra. It's not a nice to have. It's a core that really needs to be secured. Now, before we get tactical, here is a mindset shift you might need to take. A flex fund is not an extra savings account. All right? It is a boundary. It is a decision-making tool. It is wealth capacity protection, because optionality increases your wealth capacity. When you have options, your nervous system calms down. It doesn't feel like it's got to panic and make a decision that might be the wrong decision. You stop making frantic decisions, running around like a chicken with its head cut off, if you've ever heard that term. And it allows you to start building aligned, conscious finance choices that match your values. Okay? So, coming up, I'm going to show you the flex fund design. I'm going to show you how to size it, where it should live, how to fund it automatically, and the rules that stop it from coming becoming the quote unquote oops spending. Then later in the show, I'm going to show you how to use it, how to refill it, and then your 30-day setup plan. This is episode 100, okay? We are not just learning. We are going to be building. Now, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Do Better with Elaine and check out some of my upcoming events that might be coming to your area. You can check those out at www.dodifferentbetter.com. So I want you to stick with me, and I'm going to show you after the break. We're going to get into more of this and talking about what is the Flex Fund, how to get it started, now that we've talked about what it is and why it's important. So catch me after the break. Welcome back to this segment of the Do Different Better show. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen, your wealth alignment coach and your money co-pilot. If you're just joining us, we are talking about building the Flex Fund that gives you optionality to make life shifts you need without panic or regret or missed opportunities. Okay, we're really going to be focused on the Flex Fund design. Don't worry, you don't have to go to architecture school to follow me, I promise, right? There's not going to be a whole lot of spreadsheets either. But because without design, savings really just becomes a vibe, and vibes do not create optionality. Here's the core principle. A small flex fund you build and protect is far more powerful than a big one you never create. Okay? I want you to really let that settle in. So we're going to set targets in 3 different levels. Starting with level 1, that is the decision cushion. This is $500 to $1,000. Consider this your starter flex fund that prevents panic. It's going to cover a small transition cost. Maybe it's a fee to go to a conference where you're going to meet somebody that you've been trying to meet to get that better job. Maybe it's travel for interviews because you're putting yourself out on the market. It could be a piece of small equipment for this side hustle or business that you're thinking of launching. It's the I need to move fast moment, right? If you don't have this, then everything feels urgent, or you're going to take robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're going to take money out of your savings or your baseline account or your buffer account to be able to finance this. And we don't want to do that. We want to have that money set aside. So when that trigger happens, we have a set of money that allows us to be able to make that move. Level 2, that is a 1-month baseline or transition starter. This is where optionality becomes real. 1 month of baseline means you can handle a short disruption without chaos. And now level 3. This is your 90-day flex, or what I like to call choice fund. This is for big moves, job changes, entrepreneurship, relocations, health distress, or resets. 90 days is long enough to breathe and act strategically. Now, remember I said I was going to give you a key rule. So here it is. Your flex fund target should match your reality. Your flex fund target should match your reality. If your cash optionality is low, then obviously you should start at level 1. Again, there should be no shame about this. This is about really bringing objectivity to our financial vision, right? If your buffers are solid, you can build towards level 2 or level 3 a lot faster. And remember, the flex fund is separate from your brick house. It is separate from your baseline. It is separate from your brick house. Because remember, your brick house is for emergencies only. Your flex fund is for making moves. Now, let's talk about where should the flex fund live? Okay. The flex fund should be separate from your checking account. And if you have a business, it should be separate. You might want to set up a flex fund for your business account as well as a flex fund for your personal account. But it is separate from your checking or your savings. It is easy to access. And I'm going to qualify easy to access because I know y'all. It's not tied to daily spending in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Ideally, it's in a high yield savings account or a dedicated savings bucket. It might even be at a completely different financial institution than the institution that you normally bank at. The reason separation matters is behavioral. It's tapping in and hacking your brain. If it's in checking, this is how you're going to experience leaks, right? You might, I'm going to use this and then I'm going to put it back. And we never put it back, right? If it's mixed with the buffer or your brick house accounts, you will hesitate to use it or you'll use it for all the wrong reasons. Here's something I want to invite you to think about doing. Name it something that creates some psychological clarity. So here are just a few examples. You don't have to use these, but just to get your idea juices running, it could be called a flex fund. Maybe it's called an options fund. Maybe it's a pivot fund, or maybe it's a choice fund, or maybe it's your freedom buffer. Words matter because your brain obeys the label. This is a quick example of how that actually shows up. I was talking to a client yesterday, and the client, I was showing them something on the screen, and I was asking them, like, which of these do you like? Which of these do you don't like? And they were like, I like that, but it's listed as something else. And I'm like, we can change that. We get to delete what it says here and move it into something else. If this is what resonates for you, you have free will, you get to choose. So I want you to choose something that matters and makes sense. If you know that you are going to be buying a business, maybe name it the Buying a Business Fund. Maybe if you're looking to relocate because you are going to be retiring, okay, then it's the earnest deposit for a new location or new home or whatever, a plot of land. Whatever the case may be that's what it's for. So now we're going to talk about how to fund the Flex Fund account because I'm sure that's your next question. Again, you've heard me say this once, you've heard me say it 1,000 times. It is automation. And there are 3 clean ways to do this. Method number 1, payday transfer. This is ideal for folks who are W-2 employees, right? Meaning you probably have a regular job, you get a W-2 at the beginning of the year, right? This method is setting up an automatic transfer the day after payday. So that means once the money goes into your account, it goes out of your account. And this could be something as small as $25 a week, $50 a week, $100 a week. Obviously, if you can withstand more, you should raise that amount. But again, whatever is realistic for where you currently are right now. Because consistency beats intensity, right? We want you to be consistent so that you lessen intensity. Method number 2. I call this percentage of inflow. This is really great for entrepreneurs or people who maybe have fluctuating income like realtors or salespeople. Every time money comes in, a fixed percentage goes to the Flex Fund first. Even starting as small as 2 to 5%, it really begins to build optionality very, very quickly. Now, method number 3. This is what I call the found money boost. This could be leveraging your tax refund. It could be you get a quarterly or annual bonus that you may not know what the amount is, but you know that it's coming because you're a top performer. I know you are, right? It could be cash gifts. Maybe you know that during the holidays, you get gifts from parents or grandparents, or it could be some other kind of dividend that comes in from stocks or bonds that maybe your parents or grandparents bought for you. But it's an amount of money that you have some level of predictability. You may not know what the amount is, but you know that it's coming. Or it could be that you sold something. I know I put things on Facebook Marketplace, and I actually take that and I stash that money. I don't put it into my regular bank account, and it's going to fund my renovation at my house. So it's this way that you can take selling something and putting a percentage of that or all of it into the flex fund. But you might want to, if you haven't built your buffer or your brick house, you might want to take a percentage instead of taking the whole amount of money and putting it into your flex fund. Again, think about, you don't want to do all of it. Take a percentage and make it sustainable. All right. Now, of course, you know me, you're going to need some rules. So because without rules, your flex fund becomes lifestyle creep. And we don't want that. We don't want anything to get in the way. We set up these rules. You can adopt them as is. All right. So the first one is approved uses. This means that these are the things that the flex fund can be used for. It's a lot easier to make rules at the beginning. You might need to adjust them because as you don't know what you don't know, and as you start to leverage the rules, maybe you find like, oh, this is not relevant or meaningful. So you can make some adjustments. But the whole idea is make rules in advance, and then you can consider making adjustments as life begins to play out. But the approved uses for your flex fund are things like career transition costs. This could be, hey, I need to hire somebody to help me build up my resume, or rearrange or realign my resume for the kind of job that I want. So I'll give you an example. I am in the process of wanting to go on to corporate boards and having corporate board service be a part of my professional experience. So I have had to pay for somebody to reimagineer and recreate my resume in a way that actually speaks to the experience that I have to offer a corporate board, as opposed to a regular resume as if I were going for a senior executive role or C-suite role. It could be that you might need funds to be able to travel to get to the interview. Sometimes your interview is paid for, but sometimes it's not. It could be you don't have to fly there, but you have to drive there. And right now, the way gas prices are going, you definitely want to have some funds to be able to do that. It could be that you need a new look. Maybe you need some interview clothes, or you need some help putting together a look so you actually look your best. Or it could be you need to put down a deposit for an apartment or something else is part of your relocation once you get the job, right? The next yes could be education with a clear purpose. This is specific certification. It could be a training that allows you to be able to leverage that either into another job or a part that you want to leverage as part of your salary negotiations, right? But these are not random courses that you never finish. This is not about going on Coursera or LinkedIn Learning or Udemy. This is about, I want to get this certification, right? Because I know that it will contribute to this indication of my salary, my job title, or something like that, right? You are leveraging it for a purpose that has a quasi-predictable outcome. You know that me getting this certification means that I now qualify for this level of job title or this level of pay in my either current job or in my industry. Another way to say that you can say yes, that is a rule, is that the flex fund is for business opportunity with a defined return on investment. This could be equipment that increases your capacity with demand. So if you've got a side hustle and you know that it could be not necessarily a piece of equipment, maybe it's a piece of software that, hey, if I get this, I can increase my productivity by 30%, which then is going to turn into an additional amount of revenue. All right. And then the next one is it's strategic breathing room. Could be a 1 month to reset, right? You're going to take a 1 month off of your job to reset, kind of reevaluate, look at where you are, look at where you're going, looking at what's happening in your industry so you can decide, do you want to stay where you are? Or do you want to move on to another job, another industry, whatever the case maybe is? Maybe it's to fund a job search, right? Because doing a job search is another job, right? It could be a matter of health recovery. Maybe you've broken your leg. Maybe you've had some other kind of health situation that requires you to step away from your regular income. This would allow you to do that. Or it could possibly be a one-time move that increases alignment. This is going back to our conscious finance, right? Here are the things that are not approved for your flex fund. This is recurring lifestyle upgrades, right? These could be subscriptions, higher rent, or other monthly payments. What's not approved for your flex fund is I'm quote unquote stressed spending. That retail therapy, no, that's not what this is for, right? It is also not for predictable bills that you actually should plan for in your baseline. It's not for impulse shopping disguised as self-care, okay? And it's not for funding someone else's recurring chaos. I'm talking to you, my caretakers, my family CFOs. Now, here's a decision rule. If it's recurring, it's not flex. Flex is for one-time opportunity or transition. If it's recurring, it belongs in your baseline planning or your fixed cost restructuring. Now, let me address the biggest risk. People use flex fund emotionally. So we need to install one more rule. That is the no flex withdrawals during emotional spikes rule, okay? That means if you're angry, if you're anxious, or you're overwhelmed, I want you to sleep on it. This is the 24-hour rule. Because the flex fund is about choices, it is not about coping. Now, for episode 100, I want you to do something simple. Before the end of this week, I want you to choose your flex fund level target and set the automation, even if it's $10, because the goal is to activate, not to plan to activate. Coming up, I'll talk about how to deploy the flex fund properly, how to refill it, and your 30-day setup plan. This is where optionality becomes a lived experience. I can't wait to see you after the break. Welcome back to the last segment of the Do Different Better show. This episode is all about creating a flex fund, and the flex fund is different than your baseline, your buffer, and your brick house. Your flex fund is really about creating optionality in your life. Optionality to be able to start that job hunt for a new job. Optionality to take advantage of that business opportunity that you've been thinking about or that you've been looking for. Optionality to be able to take advantage of that relocation opportunity. That's what it's fun. It is not your savings account. It is a fund that is specifically set up for you to take advantage of different options, okay? Life options that you may have missed in the past because you didn't have the financial wherewithal to participate. So again, if you're just joining us, we started with what is a flex fund, how to design or structure your flex fund. And now what I'm going to be getting into is using your flex fund like a wealth tool and not a spending loophole. So here is the reframe. The flex fund is not permission to spend. It's permission to actually choose. It's what lets you move without panic and without debt. So let's talk about what are the deployment rules. Again, these are not meant to provide guilt or shame, all right? Rule number 1, define the purpose in one sentence. Because you use the flex fund, you must be able to say these words. This withdrawal is for fill in the blank. If you can't define it, it's probably emotional. And remember, we don't do that around here, right? We are no longer allowing emotion to drive our decisions. We are going to be grounded in. That doesn't mean you don't feel the emotions. This goes back to our 24-hour rule, right? If you're feeling a lot of feelings, you're feeling a heart palpitation, we need to sleep on it. We need to give it at least 24 hours, maybe 48, right? So we're not going to be responding emotionally to things. We can have the emotion, but we're going to make the decision grounded in where we're trying to go, what we're trying to do, and the opportunity that's presented in front of us. Rule number 2, define the refill plan before you make the spend. This is huge. If you pull $800 from the Flex Fund, you must decide how it gets refilled. Maybe you'll say something like, I'll refill it at $100 a week until it's refilled. Another option is, I'll refill it with my next bonus, which will be when. You should know when that date is. I would even put it on the calendar. You know that your bonus check comes in the third quarter, the second week typically of the third quarter. I would put a meeting reminder to refill my Flex Fund account in that particular month or week, right? This is how we put supports in that maximize the ability to actually get a thing done. Another thing that you could say is, I'll pause discretionary spending for 30 to 60 or 90 days, but then you actually have to do it. It's not just enough to say it. Again, you can put all these in your finance note that you've got on your phone now because you've been listening to the show for a while, or maybe you have a financial notebook that you've been working with and you've been tracking all of your progress in. But if there's no refill plan, that just means you're going to have a slow decline into zero optionality again. And I don't want that for you. That's why you're here. Rule number 3. This is the 2-step approval for bigger withdrawals. If it's above your threshold, say $500 or $1,000, again, you can use the 24-hour pause rule. I'm going to wait 24 hours before I make this decision. And you can create what is the written purpose plus refill plan, right? I am using this withdrawal for, and I will refill it by XYZ, date and method of refillment, right? Whether it's going to be coming out of your savings or if it's going to be coming out of some future funds. This is conscious finance. It is creating intentional choices. Now here's rule number 4. This is the no flex withdrawals, right? For any recurring obligations. If the thing that you're using flex for will become a monthly payment, that's not for your flex fund. That is fixed cost creep, meaning your fixed costs are going up steadily. That is not what your flex fund is supposed to be used for. If it's recurring, you need to evaluate it against your baseline, right? Is this something that now is going to be part of a permanent recurring expense? If it is part of your baseline, and your baseline number now needs to go up, and you've got to figure out how you're going to finance your baseline fund. So in case something happens, you are able to manage life. It is not part of your flex fund. Rule number 5, protect the decision cushion. If the flex fund drops below level 1, remember that's our $500 to $1,000, you are going to pause non-essential spending until it's rebuilt. Again, this isn't about, sometimes I hear people, particularly when they're building budgets, they're like, I'm going to stop doing this forever. I want you to be a little bit more kind to yourself and say, hey, I'm going to stop this for a certain amount of time until I achieve this. And then when I achieve this, I can go back to that, right? So it's all about prioritizing. Where do you actually want to go? What do you want to actually do? How is this actually going to look and show up, right? And making the decision, right? You are in control when you are making the decisions, as opposed to these things happening to you. I want you to be better situated, because level 1 is the threshold where your nervous system stops feeling like it's trapped. Now, let's weave this into the wealth identity just really briefly, because people misuse their flex funds in a lot of predictable ways. I can tell you, I've been doing this for a while. There's nothing you can tell me that I haven't seen. There's nothing that will shock me. I promise you. Okay. If you're a builder, you're probably going to try to create 12 sub accounts. Don't do that. One account with clear rules and you're done, right? If you're a caretaker, you'll treat your flex fund like a community chest, right? I want you to stop that. Your flex fund is for your household's mobility. If you want to give, use a separate budget. Don't mix the two. For my maximizers, you'll use flex fund to chase shiny opportunities with no defined ROI. Your rule, define the return on investment and the purpose. If you can't explain it, it is probably hype, and we don't do hype here. For my minimalist strategists, you'll probably avoid setting it up altogether and then start to feel like you're behind. So I want to offer this rule for you. Automate something small today. Something small, something doable. A lot of financial institutions, you can go online right now and set up. I did this with my son. He borrowed some money from me when he was renovating his house. So we were able to go in and set up that money came to my bank account, even though we don't bank at the same place, on a regular cadence, right? So he was able to set that up, and now the money is coming in to repay me. It's a weekly, small, recurring automation that drops into my bank account from his bank account. A lot of financial institutions allow you to be able to send money to other places, other financial institutions. And again, if you are naming your account with the thing that its purpose or used for, maybe it's your buffer, maybe it's your baseline, maybe it's your flex, but you've labeled it that, it makes it a lot easier when you go and have this money, because you'll know exactly what it's for. And here's another pro tip. If you have an opportunity to create a description for that account, write some of these rules. So when you open that account on your screen or on your app, you are constantly reminded what that's for, which makes you less likely to participate in bad decision-making behavior. Okay. So again, for you all, you're going to automate something small because momentum beats perfection. Now, the 30-day plan. That is the part that turns this episode into results. All right. So here's your 30-day flex fund setup plan. Week number 1. And again, if you're driving, you're listening to this on the road, bookmark this. You can come back and listen to it later. But again, set up some time on your calendar when you're actually going to listen, and it's going to be quiet. You're not going to have a whole bunch of mayhem, maybe a whole bunch of kids running around. I actually want you to be thinking about this so you can concentrate and zone in and lock in so that you are promoting your success, right? So week 1 is you are going to open a separate account or create a savings bucket. A lot of financial institutions, you can do this online now. You don't have to actually go to the bank. That was in my day. You had to actually physically go to the bank to open a bank account. They make it so easy. There is no excuse. But this is going to be a separate account. Name it the Flex Fund, the Options Fund, the Pivot Fund, whatever you like. And you're going to set your level 1 target. Maybe you have it all at once, but maybe you might have to make deposits to get there. That's all fine. Either way is fine. But this is going to be $500 to $1,000. And you're going to write your approved uses and not approved rules in the notes section or in the notes section on your phone, or you're going to put it in your finance note journal, right? Your money journal. Okay, that's what you're going to do in week number 1. Easy. You can probably do that inside of 30 minutes over coffee. Do it with a friend. Call a sibling. Say, hey, I want you to do this with me. You guys can do it together. Sharing is caring. You're much more likely to be successful if you do this with somebody than if you do it on your own. It's not to say that you won't be successful doing it on your own. You just increase the likelihood that you'll stick to it if you do it with someone else. Week number 2. This is your automate week. This is where you're going to set the recurring transfer right? Whether it's payday or it's weekly, it's a day of the week, whatever the case. Maybe if you get paid weekly, you get paid on Fridays, you have it taken out on Saturday or Sunday, right? If you get paid the 1st and the 15th, then you're going to have it taken out the 2nd and the 16th. Right? So just, you want to make it the day after, just in case anything happens with deposits, with holidays and things like that. Set it for a day or two after the money actually deposits into your account. If you're a founder or an entrepreneur, set a percentage of inflow. Use the percentage of inflow rule because you're not really sure what your income is going to be from month to month. So this allows you to not necessarily have a big commitment that you can't follow through on, and then you feel bad about yourself, and then that's a death spiral. We don't want that. I want you to decide your big withdrawal threshold that triggers a 24-hour and your written plan, the 24-hour rule, right? So is that amount, hey, if this a withdrawal over $500, I have to abide by my 24 or 48-hour rule, and I have to abide by my written plan as far as how I'm going to repay the money back, right? That's how that works. Now, let's get into week number 3. That also should not take you more than 30 minutes. It should not. Again, there are too many tools out here on the interwebs that allow you to do this stuff very quickly with your financial institution, right? You might even have a description for it when you take it out. Like they ask you, when you take out the money, they ask you to put in, if you want to have a memo section for what the purpose is, you can put 24-hour rule and the repayment plan, right? Maybe the repayment plan is $100 a week from my paycheck. That is in the description. Again, hack your brain to be able to do the things that promote your success. These are easy things that you can do. All right. Now we're going to move into week 3. Week 3 is you're going to fund it by reducing one obligation. So you can pick one thing is, I'm going to cancel X subscription or subscriptions. And that money, maybe if you cancel 3 subscriptions and those subscriptions equal $100 a month, I'm going to cancel those subscriptions until this $500 is paid. That means you're canceling the subscriptions for 5 months. Guess what? By the time the 6th month comes, they might have another discount for that service that makes it cheaper than what you were paying before because they're trying to get you back as a customer. Something to think about. Also, you could renegotiate one bill. Once again, you're finding ways to compensate for the money that you've taken out and to rebuild the fund. You can maybe reduce one recurring convenience cost, a delivery service, something else. Maybe it's getting the facial. Maybe you just go without getting facials and you do them at home for the next couple months because that could be easily $150. You're going to take $150 and put that back into your Flex Fund account. The idea is that you're redirecting that money back to the Flex Fund, okay? Week number 4, review and adjust. So here's where you're going to check your progress, decide whether or not level 2 is now where you need to go, right? You're going to flip that trigger to move to level 2. You're also going to put a quarterly Flex Fund check-in on your calendar. Maybe it's just your day, your finance day. We've talked about, right? That of like, hey, finance day is 2 hours, 3 hours, and these are the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to review my expenses. I'm going to review my credit cards. I'm going to review my Flex Fund. I'm going to review my baseline. Does it still apply? Is it still meaningful? Have things changed? It's just your own personal finance check-in. Again, way more fun if you do it with somebody else. Maybe it's your partner. Maybe it's not your partner, right? Especially, I know for me, I've been in situations with partners where they have a lot of financial insecurity, and these conversations never went well because they were constantly triggered. So we couldn't have those conversations together because I'm trying to approach this objectively and they were not. And so it made it difficult. So sometimes getting your own sort of stability before you start bringing your partner might be something you want to think about. But that's really it. It's simple, it's repeatable, and it's sustainable. Now, because this is episode 100, I want to end with this. 100 episodes means you've had 100 chances to learn. You've had 100 opportunities to do. And if you've been waiting for the right moment, this is the moment. It does not matter where you are. It matters that you start. I don't care if you're working at McDonald's or you're a CEO of a Fortune 100 company. Today is the day that you act, because this episode is about doing. You don't build wealth by knowing what to do. You build wealth by building systems that help you and manage you in making good decisions easily. That's part of what a flex fund is, part of that system that allows you to do that. So here's my call to action to you. I want you to go to the website and download the Flex Fund Setup Checklist and the rules. So everything that I've talked about, I put into a one-pager that you can access for free on the website. And then you can bookmark this, or you could go back to YouTube and watch the episode 100 and go into the deep dive, and you can walk through step by step on how to set this up super, super cleanly. Okay. And remember, the whole point of these next coming up months is really focused on moving you from stability. Stability keeps you from falling apart, but optionality lets you move. And we are going to be focused on optionality in these next several months. We're going to talk about where are the ways and opportunities that you can create options, financial options, money options with your life to achieve the things that you have envisioned for your life. If your life is, I want to be a digital nomad and live in a different country every 3 months, okay, let's set up the financial system that allows you to do that. If you have a business that you want to grow, okay, what are the financial systems, even within your business? A lot of what we're talking about can be used for business as well as for your personal life. They are not just limited. But I really want you to think about, what is the wealth identity you want to move into? Where you want to go? What parts of your wealth identity do you want to shed? What kind of optionality you want to bring to your life? Do you want to be able to just I want to be able to take that vacation. I know when I first started, and I talk about this in episode number 1, my goal was I wanted to not have to check my bank account every time I needed to make a purchase. That was huge for me. It was huge. And I remember when I could stop doing that. I remember when I stopped having to look at my bank account to make everyday purchases before I went to the grocery store. I had to check my bank account. And I'm like, I want to stop doing that, because every time my nervous system would be on fire. And so that was when that happened, and I didn't have to do that anymore because I had created some savings. I created a flex fund. It made all the difference. Like, my whole approach to money completely shifted. And that allowed me to make myself open to other opportunities and other types of conversations around money. And it was powerful. It was transformational. And I'm hoping that listening to these episodes, particularly now that we're in episode 100, that I've been able to offer that, a little bit of that for you. I hope you are able to step in and have that similar experience. So I want to thank you for hanging with me for 100 episodes. Stick with me for another 100 episodes. We're going to be doing something fun. So keep an eye out on Instagram for what we're going to be doing to celebrate the 100 episodes. But I really want you to start intentionally turning your income into optionality so that you can do different and do better. Thanks for listening to the show. You're listening to Do Different Better. I'm your host, Elaine Rasmussen. I'll see you next time.